Good evening everyone and welcome to one more video of nautical content. In today's video we're gonna see how does a monohull dock with mooring lines and also how does depart from its place when it is in a very limited area. Here we are with a small monohull that is entering Marina of Alimos, and the weather is coming as you see. And the weather is coming from the southwest and it's approximately 3/4, so that should be 10 nautical miles, 10 knots. This boat specifically has two fins as a rudder, and this is very important to understand that when they give forward with this boat, the prop wash doesn't go directly to the rudder, but it needs to have a little bit of speed in order to have maneuverability, which is the same thing when we are reversing. As he's engaging now the reversing in order to enter to the corridor that you see over here, you see all the wash of the propeller goes to the starboard side, and this is because of the prop walk. So the prop walk in this boat kicks the stern to the port side as it's reversing. And this is one of the most important things to know in order to enter to a very confined, very tight area. This is one of the dominant things that we need to know in order to maneuver successfully. Let's mention that for a catamaran, the limited area as it is in this area that this boat is about to enter now, it's not a big problem because with the two engines, you can balance the boat very, very easily into the wind. But with the monohull, that's very problematic because we have to be in a constant movement in order to balance the boat into the wind. Preferably, we balance the monohull with the stern to the wind, but again, we have to maintain a continuously moving back and forth, forward, reversing, in order to balance it to the wind. Back to our boat now. As you see, he is reversing and he's having the weather to the bow as he's entering into the slot. And the speed that he is having is approximately 2 knots, which is more than enough to have maneuverability with this specific boat. So from one point, the two rudders are disadvantaged because the prop wash doesn't go directly into the rudder, but if we have a little bit of speed, the two rudders are helping a little bit more than the single rudder if we have speed. And as you see here, you will observe that he has his fenders very beautifully to protect the sides. And of course, he has the two fenders at the stern, which is very, very important not to forget to put them, because even if you forget, if you accidentally back to the dock with a little bit of momentum, the fenders will save your boat and will have a very smooth touch to the dock. Let's mention now that the moment that we want to turn the boat as we are backing is when the spot that we want to enter, the slot that we want to enter, is perpendicular with the boat and to the level of the rudder. This is the general rule to apply. The captain of this boat, though, he's starting his turn a little bit earlier with a smooth angle to the rudder, which I highly recommend you to do it all the time to get the feeling of the reactiveness of the boat. At this point, the slapping of the wind will not happen, and the bow will turn with the wind, unfortunately, and this is something that we should avoid to do it in general. And he's already starting his turning, despite that he's not already in front of his slot. And in order to help the turning, as you see, he's giving a little bit of kick with the bow thruster in order to bring the boat into alignment. And you will see that here, for some reason, I believe accidentally, he's making one more thrust with the bow thruster, which I would say that was unnecessary. And you will see here at this point exactly, he's backing with the boat, and he has the boat having pivoting in front of the slot, and he's giving one more thrust at this point exactly, which was unnecessary. And that because the boat already was pivoting, and by giving this extra thrust, he's reinforcing the pivoting, and the moment that the boat is entering the slot, he now needs to stop the pivoting, and you will see that he will give a lot of thrust with the boat thruster to starboard. He starts now, you will see he will continue in order to avoid the crashing of the boat to the other side, in order to stop the pivoting. So the idea here is that we already have the wind and the pivoting of the boat together, so we need to do something in order to counter this pivoting and not to help it. So, but I believe that the captain, because I see his maneuvers are very calculated, most likely he confused and he gave this extra push to the wrong side because he wanted to give it to starboard instead to port. Anyways, you see here he's giving the line out, he's taking the windward mooring line first, which is also correct. He's giving the stern lines after, and at this point the boat is actually docked and finished. So I have to say that this captain has a very good experience, but if the wind was a little bit stronger from the bow, all this pivoting, plus the bow thruster, plus the wind, it would take the bow much further downwind, and it would be possible to enter into the slot. So what do? We enter with forward, and we go after the slot, and then we stop the boat, we reverse, and as we reverse, we do exactly the same movement in order to slap the wind. So we are backing into the wind, and we're making, with the rudder to port, a sharp turn in order to slap the wind and enter into the slot. Let's go now to see the next day, and it's another boat. As you see in the screen is the another sailing boat over here, which is similar size with the other boat that we just saw. And also this boat has two rudders, which means two fins. That means that the prop wash doesn't go directly to the rudder, so we don't have instant maneuverability as we give forward. So the captain, as you see here, very successfully, he's pivoting the boat with the starboard stern line, but he drops this line very early into the water, and the wind is taking the bow. You see the wind is coming from the bow and a little bit more to starboard now, so he's kicking the boat to port. He's pushing the boat to port. And very successfully he is reversing hard, and as you see, all the prop walk is going from the starboard side, so he kicks the stern more to port and the bow more to starboard. I would say that this maneuver is a little bit on the limit here because the wind is a little bit stronger, and he should have used a little bit more the power line, which was the starboard stern line, to pivot the boat a little bit more so he can get the bow a little bit more to starboard, so the wind will kick the port side of the boat to starboard. And this is what actually is happening now. The wind is from the port side and is slowly pushing the bow to starboard. And I would say that the mistake that the captain is doing over here is that he's a little bit, he's reversing now here again, and now he's rushing a little bit to go out. He should have waited a little bit more, 10 more seconds, to let the wind push his bow away so he can get the boat into the center of the corridor, because now you see the mooring lines here are very close to the rudder. The rudder goes about 1.5 meters down underwater. The bows of the other boats are very clear, but the mooring lines are a little bit close over there. So he should have waited a little bit more in order to get into the center and then leave very smoothly. Let's recap a little bit that especially when we are entering to a slot that is very tight, we need to, at the final moment of the maneuver, we need to slap the wind. So we need to accelerate the bow to the wind to give momentum to the bow. Of course, with smooth wind you can do the opposite, but the rule is that to always slap the wind. Also remember that boats that have two rudders, they have to have a little bit of speed in order to have maneuverability. So just the prop wash is not enough to have maneuverability. You need a little bit of speed. On reversing, there is no difference. It's exactly the same with the single rudder, but with the forward, we need to have as well speed. Also, when we are leaving a slot, we need to use as much as possible the lines in order to bring the boat into the proper position. So when we depart, we don't fight the wind. We use the wind into our advantage to kick the bow to the proper position and then continue to exit the corridor with safety. That was our video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like it, and write me down to the comment section what other maneuver would you like to see in order to execute it with our boat for everyone to learn. Fair seas to everyone.